I think I'm going to get us started. We've got a healthy crowd out there. To answer the first question in the Q&A, yes, we will be recording this event and we will send it out to each of your schools and they will share it with you sometime this week. So I just want to say thank you everyone for joining us tonight. This is our third year hosting Education Beyond Our Borders, an evening with international universities. My name is Kalia Williams. I'm the Assistant Director of College Counseling at the Berkeley Carroll School, and we are really excited to welcome our guests from all over the world, although most of them are tuning in from various points of New York or California. They represent institutions in Scotland, Spain, Ireland, England, and Canada. I'm going to let them speak for themselves, and we're going to kick off with Will Abraham from Goldsmiths in London, England.
Thanks, Kalia. I'm going to share my screen really fast, and then we can get started, and I can teach you all about your favorite formerly European country of the United Kingdom. My name's Will. I'm the International Officer for the Americas at Goldsmiths. I'm personally based in Brooklyn, so right in your neighborhood. But Goldsmiths, as our name might suggest, is located in the bustling metropolis of London, England. So Goldsmiths is a member of the University of London, which is the third oldest university in England. And we were founded in 1891 as an institution, but have been a member of UOL since 1904. We're a medium-sized university, so about 10,500 students are on our campus. We're very diverse, about 35% international, about half our students are students of color. Among our undergraduate population, it's about 43% first generation, and about 20% of our students are members of the LGBTQ+ community. We've also implemented a Green New Deal on our campus, so we are committing to 90% carbon neutrality by 2025 and net zero carbon emissions by 2030. And this is a huge initiative on campus. We're also, among other things, we've banned beef. We're in the process of reducing our single-use plastics to about 50%, or by about 50% by 2025. And we're also revamping our entire curriculum to focus more on climate action. We also have 55 different research centers and units on campus, and we do expect students to do research from the first year as an undergraduate. We recently were ranked 9th in the UK for research intensity by the Complete University Guide. We also have over 120 different clubs and societies and sports you can join while you're on campus, so it's not all just serious academics. And plenty of influential alumni and an alumni network of about 100,000 students around the world, or alumni around the world, I should say. And we count the most Turner Prize winners of any UK university, Mercury Prize winners, Oscar, BAFTA, Olivier Award, and Tony Award winners as well. So our campus is located about 10 minutes southeast of the city center, so we're very close to all that London has to offer. We have a train station right next to our campus at New Cross Gate, which makes getting around the city really easy. And we also have a single site campus. So unlike some other schools in London, all your courses are going to be held inside that orange line there. So there's not a long commute to get to and from different classes. Your residence halls are also located on and just off campus as a first year student. So it is a pretty quick walk or a short bus ride to get to your classes in the morning. On campus, we have plenty to do as well. We have a public movie theater, gym, tennis courts. Our college green and the center there is a great place to enjoy some of London's sunnier days. Fun fact, New York is actually rainier on average each year than London, so London isn't as rainy as people think it is. And when you're on campus, earning your undergraduate degree in England is slightly different than in the US. So it's actually 3 years to complete a bachelor's degree. It's 1 year shorter. So since it's shorter and it's more focused, there's no general education or core curriculum. So what that means is you're applying directly to a degree program and you are solely taking coursework inside of that degree program. This does give you the opportunity to specialize and perform undergraduate research quite early on from what I mentioned before. And we do also have a post-study work visa in the UK, which will allow you to remain in country for up to 2 years after graduation. So the academics at Goldsmiths, we are a comprehensive university, but we do not offer any natural or life sciences. We are top 100 in the world for arts and humanities and top 150 for social sciences and management. And 8 of our 18 subject areas are in the world's top 50. We're very well known for communications and media and also for art and design. We have the largest and oldest media department in Europe, and for art and design, we're ranked number 15 in the world and number 2 in the UK. And every student will get their own studio space for those programs. We also have 8 subject areas in the UK's top 30. And as I mentioned before, we're 9th in the UK for our research intensity and also 21st in the UK, according to the last Research Excellence Framework for the quality and international significance of our research. Here is a non-exhaustive list of our academic programs. We have around 75 undergraduate options in total. So obviously this isn't 75. Even Rayman could easily figure that out. But we do have a pretty exhaustive breadth of subject areas that you can study. Some popular programs that students will gravitate toward, especially from the US, are English and Creative Writing program, our computer science degrees, our psychology and neuroscience programs, and also our media communications, journalism, and politics international relations programs as well. And also our drama, theater, and music is pretty popular. So our application is all through UCAS, which is the affectionate name for the University and College Admissions Service. This is a direct application to each degree program, like I mentioned before. So you are going to be applying to, for instance, like a BA English or a BSc Neuroscience. For applying to Goldsmiths, we do require a 3.0 GPA to apply, or an IB score of 33 overall score. We are test optional for this coming year, so any current seniors in the room would not need test scores. We have not yet made a determination if we'll continue on for the 23-24 academic year. So in case we don't, we do require typically an 27 ACT or 1280 SAT to apply, or you can submit AP exams on lieu of ACT or SAT. And we'd require 2 AP exams at a 4 or higher. Application this year closes 26th of January for most programs. That's the equal consideration deadline, which basically just means if you apply by that deadline, we have to have a space for you in your chosen program. The UCAS application is really similar to the Common App. The biggest difference is kind of the personal statement, which usually is more academically focused. So we're kind of looking for why you're looking to apply for this particular program of study and what your career aspirations are, things like that. It's not really a personal narrative. We're not looking for a story about something bad that happened to your cousin. We are looking for more of a academically focused statement. Regarding tuition and financial aid, we typically estimate the total cost of attendance to be anywhere between $36,000 and $40,000 US. It could go a little higher from there depending on the program you're studying. That includes tuition, accommodation, cost of living, visa fees, and health insurance. International scholarships are also available that you can apply for. And you also can work as a student in the UK part-time during term and full-time during holidays. Also, you can use federal loans as you would at a US school. So you can submit your FAFSA like normal to most international universities, and you'll be able to use them. Accommodation at Goldsmiths is kind of different from what you might expect in the US. So in the UK, we often have suite style living, and you'll share a kitchen and living space with other students, and you'll typically have your own room with your own bathroom. All of our suites and halls are mixed gender, and we do guarantee accommodation for you in the first year. You will have, we have no meal plans on campus, so you will gain a lot of culinary independence and you make use of that kitchen. We do have cafeterias and cafes and restaurants and things on campus, and obviously we're in a city like London. It's just like New York, so there's plenty of options for food, but to save money, it really doesn't make sense to kind of use that kitchen. And I'll just wrap up by discussing about our career service a little bit. So we have a pretty high placement rate for London schools. About 91% of our alumni go into work or further study in their field within 6 months of graduation. And we do offer tons of different work placements and internships in and around London, the UK, and even abroad. Those haven't quite started up again yet, but we hope they will this coming spring, the abroad ones, I mean. And students also have the ability to take advantage of our business incubator and a lot of grants that we provide for starting your own business. We have a pretty robust entrepreneurship program and a pretty great entrepreneurial spirit on campus, and about 14% of our graduates will have their own business within 1 year of graduation. We also have over 3,000 alumni here in the US and put on different alumni events around the country, particularly in New York. So it's a really good way to also take advantage of the alumni network that we have at Goldsmiths. So that's a quick crash course. Happy to answer any questions in the Q&A. My email address is also on the screen for you. And if you'd like to connect on our socials, Instagram and Twitter, Goldsmiths UOL is our handle. So thanks so much for listening. Have a great rest of your evening. And I'll be passing it off to my colleague.
Thank you so much, Will. Next, we have Chris Weber from the University of British Columbia.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name's Chris. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm UBC's regional representative here in the US. I'm actually based in New York and Queens, so pretty close to you. Now, before I tell you all about all the opportunities at UBC, I do first want to respectfully acknowledge the traditions and customs of the Syilx Okanagan people in whose territory UBC's Okanagan campus is situated. And I'd like to acknowledge that UBC's Vancouver campus is located on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Musqueam people. I told you I'm up in Queens. That's the original land of the Canarsie and Lenape people. And we do land acknowledgement statements all the time before every event and presentation at UBC as a way to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between nations and improving our own understanding of local Indigenous peoples and their cultures. And that's a great starting point for conversations on history, colonialism, and reconciliation. So hopefully you'll look into the original caretakers of the lands where you are, because these have been lands of living and learning long before our institutions were around. So now if we move into all you can do and find at UBC, I think the three main things I'm going to talk about are just the academic excellence, the ideal locations, and the active learning opportunities. And I think these are questions you should be asking yourself about any institution you're looking into. You know, is it a good academic fit? Is it a good geographical fit? Is it a good cultural fit in terms of the opportunities you have access to? And so if we start out talking about academic excellence, I think this is the hardest one to talk about because we tend to want to quantify things and put them in numbers. And I'm sure your counselors have told you, don't make decisions based on rankings alone. And that's very good advice. So with that in mind, I am going to share some rankings, but just to put things in context a little bit. So if we consider that, you know, there are over 25,000 universities in the world, and UBC is among the top 40 universities in the world or top 20 public universities, I think that just helps to set the scene a little bit to know just our global reputation, you know, the high academic standards we're known for. But there are other numbers I'm more interested in. You know, for instance, we're considered a world leader in sustainability and combating climate change. As you can see with those numbers there, we're well on our way to completely eliminating our carbon emissions, despite having a larger campus every year in terms of numbers of students, but also numbers of buildings. So we're constantly increasing and reducing our carbon emissions. And then the final number, just to give you an idea of who we are, other than a well-recognized institution that's obsessed with sustainability, we are considered the most international university in North America. So we have over 18,000 international students from 166 countries. So multicultural diversity is something else we're obsessed with. So these are high-level numbers. They give you a vague idea, but let's talk a little more concretely, a little more tangibly about where you'll be. And before I even talk about UBC, let's just talk about Canada for a second, because Canada is considered the #1 country in the world for quality of life. We're a country that's very welcoming and inclusive. We really prioritize healthcare, both physical and mental, and we invest more in higher education than almost any other country in the world, meaning the cost of our institutions comes way down while the quality goes up. And when you graduate from a Canadian institution, you get a 3-year work permit. So you can stay in the country and use those connections you've made and those resources you've had access to really start your career and build a really solid resume. But now if we do talk about UBC specifically, we're right in the west of Canada, and we do have 2 campuses. Now the degree is the same. The areas of study on both campuses are pretty much the same. It's really about 2 very distinct experiences so that you can find the right fit for you. So let's talk a little bit about these. I'm going to start out with our Okanagan campus. This is a campus of 10,500 undergraduate students. So it's a mid-sized campus. This is in a city of 200,000 people. So it's a pretty small city where you see all 4 seasons. You get hot summers, snowy winters, and everything in between. So this campus is maybe 15 minutes to get from one side of campus to the other. You can expect a close-knit community, smaller classes, and this is about 20 minutes from downtown Kelowna. So that's our Okanagan campus. But if you fly for 1 hour or drive for 4 hours, you get to Vancouver. This is where we have our Vancouver campus, which is a large campus, 46,000 undergrads. Now, this is in a city of 2.5 million people. So it's a big city, not as big as New York, but you get access to all the stuff you're looking for in a big city, plus a bunch of outdoors adventures. On this campus, again, about 20 minutes from downtown Vancouver, it's a large place, but your daily walking distance is maybe 15 minutes. So you don't feel like you're lost in a sea of people, but rather you have all your communities around you. Now, the last thing I said I'd talk about today was active learning. We're very big fans of getting your hands dirty at UBC. So we've talked about the academic excellence. We've talked about the location. Let's talk about what you're actually going to do there. Now, we're very big fans of research at the undergraduate level, and you have access to this. You don't even have to do research in the field you're majoring in, because we have over $500 million in research funding every year. There are thousands of projects every year. The student on your screen right now, Leo, he's from Brazil. He's a physics major on our Okanagan campus, and he got together with 4 other international undergraduate students, and they developed a device to study climate change from space, and the Canadian Space Agency launched their device. So it's floating above us right now, collecting data on climate change. And this was all the work of undergrads. So, that could be you. Or maybe you're thinking more along the professional lines, and we're huge fans in Canada of co-op. So if you're not familiar, cooperative education, that's where you alternate a semester of study with a semester of work. So you don't have to juggle too much at any one time. You're not doing classes and exams and essays and going to work. You're either doing full-time work or full-time class. Now, all our co-op positions are paid. They're relevant to what you're studying. They're mentored by someone in the field. And we have thousands of students on co-op every year in all kinds of majors, getting jobs in the US, in Canada, around the world. These are jobs in government and NGOs and tech companies. And this is such a successful program. And 90% of our co-op students get a job offer within a month of graduating. But maybe this is all very intense. I'm telling you about research and work, and you just want to know if you'll have some fun. And that makes sense too. That's an important part of being in university. So we do have the strongest varsity program in Canada, more titles than anyone else, but you don't have to be, an Olympian. By the way, UBC community did win 5 medals at the Tokyo Olympics. We also have the largest intramural sports program in Canada. So any kind of sport, any level of competition. And if you're not athletically inclined, we do have hundreds of student-run clubs, whether they're academic, social justice oriented, cultural, or just fun ones like the Ski and Snowboard Club or the Magicians and Illusionists Club. This is a great way to find communities that make your large experience feel a little bit smaller. And then finally, if going to Canada isn't international enough for you, we do have hundreds of study abroad partner institutions. You can go abroad for a year or a semester to do research or work or just study abroad. There are many different ways to broaden your horizons, meet new people, gain new perspectives. So with that in mind, I think we've covered sort of the points of the academic excellence at an institution with over 260 majors. We've covered the ideal locations with 2 very different environments that one of them might make more sense to you than the other. And then the active learning opportunities where there's so much to do and you choose whatever is the right fit for you. And all this comes with, like I said, a friendly Canadian price tag because it is majorly a public education system. So the cost does really come down. And I can talk in more detail about cost and finance and all that later on. But for now, I'm going to stop talking. I look forward to answering any questions in the Q&A.
Thank you, Chris. I just want to remind everybody before Hillary begins to speak to us about the University of Edinburgh, that if you have any questions that are specific to an institution, please put them in the Q&A. Make sure you've noted which institution that you are hoping to hear from. And with that, I will allow Hillary to speak to you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Hillary Sementina, and I am a regional admissions representative for the University of Edinburgh. and I am based in California. So you've heard from Will, who is representing Goldsmiths in England, but Scotland is another country in the United Kingdom. It's one of 4 countries, so England, Wales, Northern Ireland, and Scotland. We have a relatively small population in Scotland, just about 5.5 million people. For some comparison, the city of London has about 8.5 million people. So the entire country of Scotland could easily fit inside of London. But even though we are a relatively small country, we're very well connected to the rest of the UK, Europe, and the rest of the world. And Scotland has its own parliament, and with that means some of our governmental powers are devolved from Westminster in England. And so some things like healthcare and education are slightly different in Scotland than the rest of the UK, and I'll go into that a bit later. And then the Scottish people, last but not least, they are very friendly and welcoming. I can personally attest to this. I went from California and studied at the University of Edinburgh. And as soon as people hear your accent, they want to know, what are you doing in Scotland? Where are you from? And they're just very talkative. So it's really a great place to be a student. So the city of Edinburgh is Scotland's capital city, but again, a relatively small population, just over 500,000 people. There are actually 4 universities in Edinburgh. The University of Edinburgh is the largest. So there's a large student population within the city. I really like this photo here because it sort of shows the 2 sides of the city. So on the left, you have the very Gothic old town. That's where most of our university buildings are located. And on the right, you have the Georgian New Town. Us coming from North America, it will all be very old, but in Edinburgh, there is this distinct, there's a distinction between the 2 sides. As a capital, it has everything you would expect: museums, theaters, cinema, nightlife, etc. But it's very compact and walkable. You do not need a car to get around. We don't have a subway system. Most people walk, ride a bike, or take the bus. So it is a great place to be an international student and explore on foot. So the University of Edinburgh is one of Scotland's ancient universities, founded in 1583, and we are currently ranked 16th in the world. We are a large research-based institution, so over 85% of our academic staff are actively involved in research across multiple subject areas. And this directly influences our undergraduate and our postgraduate or master's level teaching. This photo here is of our old college, where a lot of our administrative buildings are, and our School of Law is here as well. So as Scotland's largest university, we're very open and welcoming to students from across the globe. We have about 45,000 students in total from 160 different countries. Overall, about 41% of our student population is international, meaning they come from outside of the United Kingdom. And we're very proud of the fact that we are the #1 destination in the UK for US and Canadian students. And on campus, we have many societies and clubs and events that celebrate and support our diverse community. I'll also say our staff population is very international, with about 1/3 of our staff coming from outside of the UK. So you really do get an international and global perspective on your studies if you're at the University of Edinburgh. So a little bit about the university itself and the city. We aren't a campus-based institution. Instead, we like to say the entire city of Edinburgh is our campus. In fact, it's very hard to sort of separate the 2. We have 4 main locations, though, of where our buildings are. This photo here is of our central area that centers around George Square. This is where most of our arts, humanities, and social sciences take place. Then a bit further south in the city, we have King's Buildings. This is where our science and engineering subject are. And then even further afield, there's an area called Little France. This is where the Royal Infirmary of Edinburgh is, and that's where are the main hospital in the city. That's where our medical students study. And then out in the countryside, there's an area called Easter Bush, which is where our veterinary students study, and it has lots of open green space for all the large animals that they work with. But no matter where you're studying, it's very easy to get between locations. Again, you can walk, cycle, or take the bus. With your student card, you get a discount on the local city bus. And also, even though you are in a capital city, you are surrounded by green space. You can see on this photo here, that large green area at the top of the image, that area is called the Meadows. It's sort of like our very smaller version of Central Park in New York. It's very popular, especially on hot sunny days with students and the public as well. But really you can walk 10-15 minutes from wherever you are in the city and you'll be in some green space. So it's very easy to escape the center of the city if you're looking for some more peace and quiet. So the university is divided into 3 colleges, but that's not to say we're a collegiate system like Oxford or Cambridge. It's just how we structure our academic disciplines. So the largest of the 3 is our College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences. This is where you'll find degrees such as business, English, our languages, history, etc. Then we have the College of Science and Engineering, where you'll find engineering, informatics or computer science, chemistry, biological sciences, amongst others. And then the smallest is our College of Medicine and Veterinary Medicine. But as a large university, you would expect us to have many degrees to choose from. We have about 390 undergraduate degrees, so there should be something that you're interested in, I hope. And I did note in the Q&A, someone had asked about double majors in the UK that I see Will answered. But for anyone considering studying in the UK, you will apply directly to a degree program. We typically don't have undeclared degrees. So we have what are called single honors, where you study a single subject like history or English literature, or we have what are called joint honors. And that's sort of like a double major. So if you see the word "and" in the degree title, such as international business and law, for example. But you can check online to our university website, and we have a degree finder where you can look through all of our degrees. And then our academic year is divided into 2 semesters. So we have semester 1, which runs from September until December. And then semester 2 is from January until May, and you take your exams at the end of each semester. So I mentioned earlier that undergraduate or education in Scotland is slightly different than in the rest of the UK. You'll have heard Will say that in England, most undergraduate degrees are 3 years in length, but in Scotland, most of our undergraduate degrees are 4 years long. The Scottish system actually directly influenced the North American undergraduate system. So our 4-year program means you have flexibility and choice in what you study. So in your first 2 years, let's say you're doing politics, although you will take classes that are compulsory for politics, you will also get to take electives from across the university and other subjects. So you might choose to take a French class, an art class, and psychology, for example. Once you get into your 3rd year, that's where you really focus and specialize on your major. So you don't take electives from across the university anymore, and instead you focus on your politics degree. Within politics, you do have the choice on the type of politics classes you take, but you don't get to take classes from across the university anymore. Many of our degree programs at Edinburgh offer students the choice to do a year abroad in their 3rd year. I know as a US student, you would already be sort of studying abroad as an international student, but you could go abroad again during your 3rd year, perhaps to China, Australia. You could even return to the United States if you wanted to. And then your 4th year culminates in a dissertation or a research project that's guided by an academic member of staff. But no matter which degree you choose, we really encourage students to do independent, self-guided thinking. And importantly, our degrees are accredited and they are internationally recognized, so you don't have to worry getting your degree at Edinburgh or in the UK. It's seen as the equivalent of doing a degree, an undergraduate degree in the United States. And in fact, when it comes time to looking for jobs, it might even give you that sort of jump ahead of your other people looking for jobs, because it shows that you went to the UK, shows sort of extra motivation for you as a student to take that extra step that many others wouldn't do. So obviously academics are important, but so is life outside the classroom. In September, we have Welcome Week, which is the week before classes begin. This is full of orientation and welcome events for new students to help you settle into your campus and student community. We also have over 290 student groups and societies, which I believe is more than any other UK institution. And these range from the serious, like the debate team and Amnesty International, to the maybe not so serious, like the Harry Potter Society or the Chocolate Lover Society. We do have a North American society as well. So if you're feeling a bit homesick or worried about missing out on some cultural events, don't worry, the North American Society will have you covered. We have lots of university accommodation. There's over 9,000 residential rooms for students to live in. And as a first-year student, you are guaranteed university housing as long as you apply by the deadline. And again, as Will mentioned, you typically don't have a roommate when you're living in the dorms or halls of residence in the UK. And on campus, we have health and well-being and support services that you can make use of during your time as well. So now that you've heard all this and you think, fantastic, I'm definitely applying to Edinburgh, that's great. We welcome applications from well-qualified students. Again, as Will mentioned, you apply through UCAS. And I think he went over the application very well. You submit your qualifications, a personal statement, and an academic reference. For us at Edinburgh, we do have specific entry requirements for US applicants. We accept the IB. And typically we are looking for standardized tests like the SAT, ACT, AP exams. For any seniors who are thinking of applying for September 2022 entry, we are being flexible with our entry requirements if you do not have access to AP exams. But at this stage, it has not been decided yet if that will continue for September 2023 and onwards. Just touching a little bit on our undergraduate tuition fees. These are our fees for the current year. You can see most of our class-based degrees. It's about £22,000 or about 30,000 US dollars. The important thing to highlight is that our degrees for international students, it's a fixed annual tuition rate for the duration of your degree. So your tuition fee won't increase year upon year. So whatever it is in GBP when you start your studies, so if you started this year and your tuition was £22,000, it'll be £22,000 for your first year, second year, third year, and fourth year. Obviously, the exchange rate can change, so it might affect the US dollar price that you're paying, but the pound price will remain the same. And then finally, if you want to know more about the university, I recommend doing our virtual visit, or if you can make it in person, we do have campus tours going on. You can chat online to our student ambassadors to get a student perspective. And also please contact us at futurestudents@ed.ac.uk. That's great. Thank you very much. And please put any questions in the Q&A.
Thank you, Hillary. And next we have Cora Morrison from IE Madrid.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I hope everyone can see the screen okay. My name is Cora Morrison, and I'm here representing IE Madrid today. So we're going to take a little hop over to sunny Spain, and I'm really excited to share with you a little bit more about the university. So just to start off, IE University, in case you haven't heard of us before, I added here a couple of quick facts. So IE University, we're an international European university. We are located in Spain. We have campuses in Madrid and in Segovia. We're a medium-sized private nonprofit university. All of our programs are taught in English, so you don't need to know Spanish in order to attend. However, if you do not know Spanish, we put you directly into Spanish courses as part of your program for free. We have a little over 5,000 undergraduate students right now, split between both campuses. The majority of our students are international students coming from outside of Spain. So 75% are international students, and we have right now 55% women students on campus. We have very career-focused majors, and we're well known for having a hands-on approach to learning. So we don't have any general education requirements, actually, and when you apply directly into a program of interest. All of our programs are accredited, so you don't have to worry about that when you are applying to jobs afterwards, or if you want to apply to grad schools later on. And 95% of our job-seeking graduates are employed within 6 months of graduation for the past several years. We also have smaller class sizes that might be typical in some other universities. The largest class size is usually around 55 to 60 students, depending on the degree. And even if you have a larger class, you are split into different work groups. So you have a lot of hands-on activities, a lot of group projects, presentations, et cetera. It's not only sitting and listening in up to a lecture all day. If you look at tuition and financial aid, if this is estimated into dollars, so of course with the exchange rates, it can change a little bit, but usually you're looking at somewhere between around maybe almost $26,000 for a single degree program up to closer to $30,000 a year for a dual degree program. And all of our fees and financial aid are the same, no matter if you are someone who is coming from Spain or if you're an international student from elsewhere. We also have over 21 different scholarships available. And the overall estimated cost, if you put in everything like food, housing, maybe a couple of weekend trips abroad, et cetera, we usually tell students and families to think about $45,000 to $55,000 a year, depending, of course, on the degree that you're studying and kind of the type of lifestyle that you want to lead while you're there on campus, because you can definitely take a lot of trips abroad from Spain because of its close proximity to the other countries. And at the very bottom, you just have a few of our rankings. Actually, this is the latest Times Higher Education Global University Employability Ranking that came out, so I just included it there at the bottom. And next, so just to take a look at our two campuses, they're very different, but both have great experiences. And the great thing about our programs is the majority of them, you can actually combine both experiences. So we'll start off in Segovia. If you haven't heard of Segovia before, it's a beautiful historic city, about an hour and a half drive outside of Madrid, or 20 minutes if you're going by high-speed train. And our campus that you see here is a UNESCO protected site from the 13th century. And has a lot of really great history. It's been used for many different purposes throughout the years. And now it's our beautiful campus that really mixes high-tech things such as 3D printers and design spaces, but also you can access a lot of the beautiful architecture and history of the site. Even the King and Queen of Spain used to live or used to visit and used to live in the castle nearby, which you see here in one of those pictures. We also have there the Roman aqueducts of Segovia, which are very famous as a tourist attraction. And then we have a lot of beautiful structures and things to explore around the city. I would say Segovia is really great if you're looking for that more traditional campus experience. It's a smaller community, very international, and you can really maintain close relationships and get to know each of your peers in class. And then Madrid, in contrast, so Madrid is the capital city of Spain. If you haven't visited before, I can definitely recommend it because I used to live there for 6 years myself. But we just opened up a new tower there. We moved all of our undergraduate students from our old Madrid campus to the new one this September. And these are just a few different photos of the tower. It's a 35-story tower in Madrid's business district. So there are only 4 skyscrapers actually in Madrid. And so we're the 5th kind of tower there with them. I'm not going to go into all of this, but here you just have a quick overview of some of the different areas of our tower. We have a lot of information on our website with videos and things like that. So I definitely encourage you to check it out if you have some time and if you're interested. And then next, we'll dive into our studies. So at IE University, we're really well known, as I was saying, for our career-focused programs. We're also well known for innovation and using technology in the classrooms, and also focusing on what the jobs of the future will be, or what what employers are looking for future. So just a couple of highlights, perhaps. Our business administration program is one of our most popular programs. It's Triple Crown accredited. And you can also have the opportunity to specialize in entrepreneurship and technology or in finance. There are also 2 international dual degree options there. Another really interesting program to mention would be our law program, which we also have an accelerated possibility with our partnership with Northwestern University. And probably one of my favorite programs is international relations. This was designed with the curriculum with the United Nations System Staff College, and it provides a lot of great opportunities for our students. Overall at IE, we have 5 different schools. So you have architecture and design, business, etc. And then these are all of our single degree bachelors. All of our bachelors start in September. As I was mentioning before, they're all in English. And we are now still accepting applications for September 2022. Next up, we have our dual degrees here. So you can also combine 2 different degrees in areas to complete your 2 degrees in 5 years. So if one of our most popular options, I would probably say here, would be business administration and international relations, and also business administration and data and business analytics that you see at the top. Those are probably some of our most popular programs, but the others are really, really popular as well because it provides students who are interested in 2 different areas the ability to really get a leg up, so to speak, in the job market too after graduation, and they can further specialize. I already mentioned this about all of our programs are already recognized, so I'm going to skip that. But we do have a couple of pre-college activities too that I'd like to mention, since I know we might have some students joining that are, from 9th grade and up. So we have something called the Junior Advisory Board for juniors in 11th grade, which I highly recommend. Applications are actually opening up this January, and so, sorry, rather, they're already open and they have the application deadline this January. This is a really great opportunity if you want to apply, because students who are chosen are flown to Spain for a trip in April free of charge, and they also win a 80% scholarship to IE. We also have summer and winter programs and challenges and competitions that students can participate in various grades. At IE, even though we are very focused on the career, you can also build your own path, and you have some different options to customize. So you can participate in electives and advanced seminars, international exchanges, internships. Actually, many of these even become international internships. And we have something called labs, which I'll share a little bit more on next. Regarding our exchanges, you can see here a few of our different exchange partners. Most of our students go on exchange, usually in their 3rd or 4th year. For some degrees, you can choose to actually do exchanges 2 different years. But so this is not all of them, but it should give you a taste of, a lot of times students will decide to continue their international experience and go visit a new country, a new continent, and get a new experience. These are our labs, which are internship-like experiences for 1st and 2nd year students. So you work on real company projects with a professor kind of guiding you, but you are still meeting real company executives and helping to solve their problems. And then just quickly for campus life, we are in Spain, but we still have a bunch of different clubs, athletics, we have a creativity center, and we also have a lot of our own traditions. So we have over 125 different clubs. We put on a lot of different activities between the Madrid and Segovia campuses. These are just a few of the different clubs that we have. So you might have some that are more based on hobbies or on sports, on culture. So we have, many to choose from. And then students also, if they find that there's a club that they would like to create, they can do so as well, because we help to provide basically money so that they can do that if they'd like to. We also have various athletics teams. So in the Segovia and also in the Madrid campus, we have different sports facilities. And so, students could participate if they want in things like volleyball, football. Here, actually, that's soccer, European soccer. That's probably the most popular one, but we even have a cheerleading team, which I always thought was pretty interesting too. We have a bunch of different traditions. So probably my favorite one, just to touch on one, is Global Village, which is where students bring food from their countries. They wear traditional clothing. There's a lot of music and celebration, and it's a really fun celebration of the diversity of IE. Next, just to quickly take a look at talent and careers, I believe I already mentioned the 95% of the university job seekers are currently employed within 6 months of graduation. This past year, 5% of the graduates also either launched or joined a startup. These are just a couple of the companies that hire our graduates pretty regularly year over year. And then I thought it would be interesting to see a couple of examples of students who are American who studied IE and then came back, because we do see a lot of students do that, but we also have a lot of international mobility. So I won't go into all of them, but here you have Elliot, who's working in New York, and then Ashley, who's working in Chicago right now. And I thought it would also be interesting to see some students who are Spanish who then came to New York. So we have Jose and Victoria here. Next, quickly for the admissions process, we have 5 different stages of the admissions process. I'm definitely happy to answer any questions along the way. I know probably we're kind of getting up to the time right now. This is overall how to apply. We have 100% rolling online and rolling admissions right now. We do require some sort of application. So we have our online application, or we're also on the Common App. If you have any questions, I'm definitely happy to share more on that. We also have the financial aid, which I mentioned. Students who are admitted can apply for financial aid, and I'm also happy to share more on that. We also have an application and financial aid workshop coming up on January 11th. We have various student services that help students who are, with their student visa applications, housing, and things like that. As far as housing, these are the main options that students choose from. And I don't want to take up too much more time because I know we're kind of getting to that time right now. So this is me. If you have any questions, just let me know. You have my contact information here and also our Instagram page where we have things like student takeovers and things like that. So I hope you'll connect, and thank you so much for listening, and I'll turn it over to my next colleague.
Thank you, Cora. It feels a little bit like we're speed dating international universities here. I appreciate all of you for giving us so much information in such a short period of time. Next, we have Sarah Dilworth from Trinity College Dublin. Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks. So hi, everyone. My name's Sarah. I am the Mid-Atlantic rep for Trinity, and I am based here in New York. So before we talk about Trinity itself, I'll just say a bit about Ireland itself. Ireland is an English-speaking nation. We are located on the western edge of Europe. That Irish stereotype of being a safe and friendly and welcoming environment really does ring true. The Irish are super friendly and chatty, especially. Let's see, one other aspect is that it is a relatively small country with a population in the Republic of about 4.5 million, and then in the island itself is about 5.5 million. So moving to Dublin, Dublin is Ireland's capital city. So I like to say it's a European cosmopolitan capital with a small town charm. There's a real, the city itself is extremely walkable. It's not an overwhelming city. Public transportation is really reliable as well. It's consistently ranked one of the safest cities in the world and one of the best student cities in the world. And at the geographical heart of Dublin lies Trinity College Dublin. We've been around for over 400 years, founded in 1592. And like I said, we are at the very city center. So we're an urban university, but there's still a real campus feel and vibe. We have green spaces and sports fields. There's no, office buildings or apartment buildings mixed in between our academic buildings. We are a research intensive university today. So what that means is that all of our professors are active researchers in their fields, and our undergrads do complete research during their, especially during their final year in the form of a capstone project. So on to how our academics are kind of divided. We have 3 faculties. They are arts, humanities, and social sciences, engineering, mathematics, and science, and then health sciences. Within those faculties are 24 different schools that you see listed here. And then within those schools are the hundreds of majors and minors and joint honors, dual degree subjects that you can choose to study. Similar to some of the other universities tonight, when you apply to Trinity, you do apply to a particular program. So you essentially choose your major at application stage. And then here are the most popular majors or courses that we see students from the US choosing year after year. So you can see there's a range of subjects represented here. Some interdisciplinary courses or joint honors. So that would be PPES, which is philosophy, political science, economics, and sociology, history and political science, European studies. There are several different business courses. So we have a business, economics, and social sciences. You can study business and law together, business and a language. Trinity's also produced some great Irish writers throughout centuries. So our English department certainly reflects that. And then moving on to our STEM subjects, biological and biomedical sciences, all different types of engineering, and computer science are also all quite strong. I want to quickly mention that we have a dual degree program with Columbia University. And the way this works is that students spend their first 2 years on Trinity's campus, their years 3 and 4 on Columbia's campus. And then at the end of their 4 years, they receive 2 bachelor's degrees, one from each university. So it's a truly global education experience. You're a fully enrolled student at both universities for all 4 years. And this is a separate application process than that of Trinity's regular application for our 4-year programs. So now on to student life. Our students at Trinity are super active inside the classroom and outside the classroom. We have over 50 different sports clubs and teams to join. They range from rugby and soccer being quite popular, along with all of the Irish sports. So hurling that you see in the upper right-hand corner there, Gaelic football, camogie are all what they call GA, Gaelic Athletic Association sports. We also have several different rowing teams because of Dublin's location with a river that runs right through it. There's also fencing, rock climbing. There's a lot of activities to get involved in. And then there's over 120 different student-run societies and organizations. And these really are the crux of a Trinity student's social life. It's how you meet students that you're not in class with or you're not living with. And it's especially just a great way to broaden your horizons. So because you do study 1 or 2 subjects, depending on what your course is, there's no general education requirements. You can often find that you have more interest than what your academics are allowing you to pursue. So students usually find a home for those interests in the form of a society. So on to our, a little bit of our student body. We have around 12,000 undergrads, and 24% of those come from outside of Ireland. And our global room is a space on campus that is there to support all of our international students. And they are there to greet you when you get off the plane in Dublin, different orientations and workshops, and then so fun social events and holiday celebrations all throughout the year as well. So another aspect of student life is accommodation, where you'll be living. So most of our international first-year students would live in a place called Trinity Hall. But you can see that we have several different options for students. So most of them are kind of dotted around the city of Dublin within a 15-minute commute. So either using public transportation or a 15-minute walk to campus. And they're all apartment style living. So you would have your own bedroom and bathroom and then share a kitchen and living room with a few of your flatmates. So just to talk a little bit about how you apply, our application is accessed directly through the Trinity website. We're not on Common App or anything like that. And we do accept applications all the way through June. I don't recommend that US students wait that long, but if you needed to or wanted to, you certainly could. This year we are test optional. However, we haven't decided for next year. But you can see if you do choose to submit your SAT or ACT, you can see the range of scores that we recommend. And there are certain courses that are more competitive than others. So we actually have that listed on our website, the exact requirements needed. And if you'd like that, shoot me an email and I will be happy to talk to you more about that. So we look at your transcripts, your personal statements, and letters of recommendation. We don't require any APs either, but if you have them, you can certainly submit those as well. And then quickly about funding, we participate in the US Direct Loan Program, so you can complete FAFSA the same way you would for a US university and send us your student aid report that way. We also offer a number of scholarships for students coming from the US, as well as there are some that are subject specific. So the business school and a few of the STEM subjects have additional funding as well. So there are several benefits to graduating from Trinity. One of them I will quickly mention is that you can take advantage of the stay back work visa. So this allows you to live and work in Ireland in any field after you graduate for a certain, for either a year or 2 years, depending on what your degree is. And Dublin is a great city, not just for students, like I mentioned, but for young professionals as well. So that's all from me. I'm happy to answer any questions in the Q&A at the end.
Thank you, Sarah. So we do have a little bit of time to answer some questions if folks want to put those in the Q&A. The first question is maybe for Will and for Hillary, if you can think about how many students from the US might do a gap year before coming to schools in the UK.
Yeah, I don't know how many specifically do, but it's common, it's perfectly fine, it's acceptable to do. When you apply on UCAS, you could either apply straight from high school or during your senior year, and you can apply for that academic year, or you can apply for deferred entry. Similarly, if you have applied for the next year and you've received an offer, but then decide you actually want to defer a year, again, you can contact each university and ask if they'll take a deferral. At us at Edinburgh, we do take deferred entry on a case-by-case basis, just depending on how many spots are available in that degree program, how many offers have been made, etc. But yeah, it's really your choice if you want to apply after your gap year, or if you want to apply during high school and then do deferred entry.
Thank you. And this question is specifically for Trinity College of Dublin. How many students live at home and not on campus?
So most first year students would live in Trinity Hall. It's not just international students. And then after your first year, you are living off campus. So that's usually in either purpose-built student housing that is all over Dublin, or through private rental, and our students union, assists students with that. As far as living at home, it really depends. If a student is from Dublin, they may choose to stay at home with their parents, but I don't have a specific number on that one.
I think this is a question that many of you can answer. Typically, why do you think students go to your institutions, and which ones thrive?
I mean, I can start us out if no one else wants to. I'd say students from the US who are looking overseas, who just want to do something different because they've been in maybe New York or whatever city they're in their whole lives, and they think they're going to end up here anyway, are the ones who are looking internationally. But yeah, students who come to UBC specifically, I think they're looking at sustainability, they're looking at climate change, they're looking at any of the number of fields where we're sort of well recognized, or and the ones who thrive, I say, are students who are thinking outside the box, who are not just going there for academics, don't just want to sit in class and take notes. Students who want to get involved and study abroad and get a co-op experience and join clubs. Students who really want to get involved are the happiest students, and they're the ones who really do well at UBC.
Yeah, I think for Goldsmiths, all similar things. I think the student who's more mature, independent, willing to put themselves out there is definitely going to be who we're kind of looking for. Goldsmiths does have a pretty large American population, but it's about like 350, 375 Americans each year on our campus across all of our programs. So, you're not going to be among a lot of Americans. It's going to be a very international environment. So definitely be willing to meet and get along with all kinds of other people. London is a really big city. So I think for a New Yorker, it's not really that big of a jump, but for some other Americans coming from smaller places, it can be kind of overwhelming. But London's very similar to New York. So I think if you are looking for an international experience, but maybe something international light, London might be a really good option, because it's kind of like a bizarro New York in a way. Like they drive on the wrong side of the street, but everything else is kind of similar. So yeah.
I guess I can go next. So I think that a lot of times, also kind of to add what Will said, about students who are maybe a little bit more mature, they're looking for a different experience, maybe an adventure. I feel like a lot of students that end up coming to IE, they're also looking for this, a little bit of an adventurer spirit, but they are also looking, again, international experience to do something a little bit different from their peers. And also, I think that one of the draws that I often hear is the fact that, you're studying in Spain, in a European country that, most people speak English as well, but the language that you're hearing every day is not necessarily English when you're not on campus. And so this is something that students who might want to learn Spanish or improve Spanish, or might want to meet people from different cultures and things like that is a big factor for them.
I'll go next. I think students that come to Trinity are really looking to do something, like you said, outside the box, a little bit outside the norm of what their peers are doing. And it's definitely for serious students who have a focused interest academically, but that doesn't mean that they're not well-rounded students. And it's also for students who are kind of take initiative and can learn and study independently to a certain extent.
And then finally for Edinburgh, very similar as to what everyone else said. One thing about going to the UK is that you do need to have an idea of what degree you want to study, what subject you want to do, because we typically don't have, again, general undeclared majors. You will be studying whatever subject you've applied for from day one. So for those students who have a focus and an idea on what they want to do, also learning in the UK, and I'm sure at other international universities as well, maybe there's less hand holding than you might be used to back in a US institution, where you really are seen as an adult and responsible for your studies and your assignments. Obviously, help is available if you require it and guidance, but you're really sort of left more to your own devices to be responsible for your studies and how you study.
Thank you all. Well, if folks have more questions to put in the chat, please do. We've got another couple of minutes. But one thing I'm curious about, we are all from different institutions here in Brooklyn, and all of us have different curricula. Can you talk a little bit about how you read applications for students? For those of you who actually read the applications, I know everybody doesn't read applications directly. For those of you who do read applications, how do you sort of review different high schools and different profiles?
I mean, I guess I can take this one first. So I mean, I think it can vary between school to school, of course. So we definitely and I think this is also why it's important to kind of build this relationship with the counselor, and that you have us as the local representative, and we know the schools, but we look at a lot of different things. So we'll look at school profiles. We'll look at letters of recommendation if there's anything there that the counselor wants to highlight as well. And then I think that, at least for us, and I'm assuming for most schools here, we have perhaps different averages or minimums that we look at when it comes to different types of curricula. So just as an example, for an American high school diploma, usually we look for a minimum of a 3.0, and then for IB, a minimum of 30, et cetera. So I mean, I think that overall then we'll be looking at that. I think that also we're looking for a well-rounded profile. So we're looking for a student, at least at IE, that is, has different activities. So not only, we're not only looking at the grades, but we want to look at everything else that you've been involved in, whether it's in clubs or other leadership activities, anything that you've done as far as like an internship or part-time job, any type of thing that makes you unique, even if you have traveled abroad, speak different languages, we would like to know.
Thank you. Well, do you want to?
Well, I don't read applications, but I can give some insight perhaps on UK admissions. So in the UK, generally, we're not very holistic. Though, I mean, if Hillary can comment on Edinburgh if I don't want to speak for another institution, but at Goldsmiths, we typically, as a UK institution, we look at your grades mostly. And then if you have test scores, we'll definitely look at those. It makes admissions a little bit easier if you do have test scores. And also in the UK, it's generally, if you meet the minimum requirements for a course that fulfills the requirements, that does change for like Oxford and Cambridge and some more competitive universities. But generally speaking, if you meet the minimums, that's pretty much you're good to go. We don't generally care that much about, if you're the captain of the lacrosse team or president of a club, if the club is related to your course. So if you're applying for like political science or something like that in your Model UN or debate society, that would be worth mentioning in your personal statement. But, if you're applying for an English degree and you're in, I don't know, like a knitting club, like that really isn't relevant. So it's not really important to mention. This is a big departure for a lot of US students that, rely on things like demonstrated interest. We don't track demonstrated interest in the UK. That's not something we look at. So yeah, it's pretty academically focused. And also when we're evaluating various applications, especially a school like St. Anne's, which doesn't really do GPAs, we will work with you, include the school profile if you're concerned. But we're familiar with all kinds of different US schools around the country. We receive Americans from all over from every state. So we definitely can easily evaluate applications depending on whatever school you're coming from.
Thanks. And we have one last question, and it's kind of a big one. So I think one of the question is, how are you factoring COVID's effect on students' grades and lack of extracurriculars? And if standardized tests is required, how much does that weigh in your application if you're a good student but not a great test taker?
Well, it's sort of similar to what Will said for the UK, at least. Standardized tests. Generally, UK universities look at standardized tests because it's seen as sort of an equal measure for all students in North America. Again, that's because UK students in England all take the same exams. In Scotland, they all take the same exams. So it's sort of seen as a way to level the playing field. For the past year, obviously, COVID very much disrupted that. So UK universities had to quickly change their thinking. So for us at Edinburgh last year, and again, for students playing this year, we are being more flexible for students who didn't have access to these standardized exams. In the future, hopefully it will continue with that flexibility. However, I can't quite say, but maybe some other universities that are completely test optional and generally look at GPAs will have some more insight.
I'll step in here as well. I'll say the good news is COVID is not a secret. The whole world has been going through it. We're all very aware of it. So we're very comfortable at this point with changing grades, with different people not having access to extracurriculars and all that. And in fact, on our application, we do say we take this into account. We very clearly state it. So you don't have to worry too much about that. And on the note of being test optional, UBC was not test optional prior to COVID. And then obviously because of difficulty accessing tests, we started being test optional. And I guess across Canada, the conversation has turned to something that is kind of an open secret or has been treated as such, which is all the inequities that are correlated with all these testing. And so now the conversation is very much not just, oh, let's be test optional for this year, but are we going to be test optional forever? I like this. Is this a good idea? And everyone's very excited about it, and we're all talking about it and hoping that all the data that our sort of admissions teams compiles gives us the right answer to which way we want to go in. But so to answer your question, COVID has affected everyone around the world. And so we are extremely understanding, and I don't think anyone's negatively impacted in their admissions because they couldn't, take part in activities, or they suffered a little bit, mental health issues because of this, global pandemic.
Yeah, I guess if I can just jump in quickly too for more the perspective from the Spain side, because also, we do not require, for example, APs or certain courses for most of our programs. So we also understand that many students, may have gone to pass fail or had not able to do different activities. So we definitely understand that. And I think that that's also something, we have the different parts of our application process. So if you ever feel like there isn't something that you want to bring up in the interview or before even with us, we can definitely make sure that that's documented in the file if it's something that you're particularly concerned about, but we do already have that in mind. And also then just on the test optional piece, we are not exactly test optional at all because we do require some sort of placement test. However, we've been offering our own test for many years, and it's very different from the SAT or ACT. It's free of charge and doesn't require any preparation. And now because of COVID, it's actually completely online. And so we're offering it online to students around the world right now. It usually takes about an hour and a half to complete. So we're really recommending that to students who are looking to apply to IE and they're not interested in taking the SAT or ACT, which I completely understand, or if they're not able to because of COVID.
Thank you all so very much. Really appreciate your time, your knowledge, and we will pass all of this on to our students and their families. So the last question in the Q&A was, where can I get this Zoom recording? Your institution, your school will send it to you sometime this week. So with that, thank you again, and everyone have a great evening.